Welcome back to Word Blindness, Dyslexia Exposed. I am Juliette Hahn, and I am here with my co-host, Ben Sokol. I know, I did that very weird.
Wow.
I did that.
Wow. I don't even know where to begin after that one. Somebody's in the mood, so glad you hit record. Let's go.
I am in a mood. I've been in a mood. As everyone just listened to our Thursday, so this will probably go out in 3 weeks. Lots of moods. Lots of
God, thank God I'm not in your house. Poor husband.
I knew you were going to say that. And he's in the city. He's been in the city for 3 days, so he hasn't really caught my mood, which is good for him. Yes, even like yoga today, the dog walk. I'm just like, it is Mercury in retrograde. I'm going to say that.
Oh, here we go.
And there was a full moon.
Yes, I did see that last night.
Yes, and I'm off like my schedule, like completely, which is so annoying because it fucks everything up. You know, like I'm eating more sugar, and it's just
those donuts I had.
I talked to Brent this morning. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm going to get donuts."
Yeah, I had Krispy Kreme yesterday.
Yeah. So now your body is craving that. You know what Dan sent me? This is not what we're talking about today on the podcast, but this is like a little attention deficit sidetrack, which is always fun. He sent me an Instagram about ADHD and alcohol and why it is not good. And it was literally like everything. I mean, it's not good for anyone, period. But like
it's amazing. What are you talking about?
Right. It's amazing until it's not amazing. And it was basically like, ADDers don't have a turn off switch. It basically kicks into the dopamine. So then your body is always like, oh, I want it. And then it also dysregulates your nervous system. So that's when your anxiety goes in full blown. And then it's this like cycle. And I started laughing as I was listening to that. I was like, oh yeah, except as we have talked about last year, I kind of was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not serving me. That my anxiety was out of control, and I would have friends like, well, when you hit 50 and the hormones are all around, you have to only have one or two. And I was like, have you met me before? And they're like, I know you really don't have an off switch. Zero off switch. Anything. From when I used to eat candy, I would have to eat the whole bag. I mean, still friends talking about me like, remember you would have like one popsicle? Everyone would have one popsicle and you would eat the box. Mm-hmm. Like I never could have one of anything. It would just 100. Be like, every time. And so that was always the joke. It was never, I can't have one of anything. I can't have a nice glass of Chianti with dinner and just have one. It's like, oh wait, bottle and a half.
You're trying to be sophisticated now. Chianti.
Yeah.
But that's what we talk about is understanding yourself and knowing that. The ADHD, what that means. You always say, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, turn on that dopamine. I mean, it's funny you reference sugar. When I was playing, obviously I was on a strict diet in the summertime. Chicken and rice. And I've never felt better.
Right.
Chicken and rice, some protein bars, some shakes, and Red Bull. And then my sugar was sometimes I'd have gum. Mm-hmm. But it's the best I've ever felt. Energy, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So, obviously, what do they say? Sugar is like cocaine. It triggers the same. And I do love cocaine. So,
hence the donuts this morning. Well, as I got older, because I was that kid that would have sugar, and I never was like I would get spazzy, but I was always spazzy. Like, right. It wasn't like the sugar made me extra spazzy, but I would eat. I mean, there was times where I would eat literally brown sugar out of the box.
Oh, I did that last night.
Yeah. I love that. It's so good.
So we lived, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles, in the city. We were in the city from Costco, and under my bed, we're back in Costco. They used to sell the little boxes of candies in convenience stores.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'd have one Swedish fish. I'd have like 7 different candies under my bed.
Right. Just so you could get them whenever you want, or so no one else would have them.
So my room was downstairs, so it was across my bed, underneath, and lined up like I'm a goddamn convenience store in the bottom of my bed. I guess it could have been worse. So it could have been the drugs, but
Right. Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, and Swedish fish, like the sugarier, the better. I was not a chocolate, like the kid. I wasn't the chocolate kid. Those Pixie Six or
I was just going to say the Fun Dip.
The Fun Dip, the stick of the Fun Dip. That was my favorite. I would, oh my God. Yes. So like, I mean, and then I could down a honey bear, like the honey. Yeah. But like the ones that were in the bear, I've been caught so many times. My kids are like, what are you doing? Like literally downing it. Cause I'm like, I just need sugar. Yeah. And I have now since I cut alcohol, I really am really good with my sugar, except I have like a chocolate bar a day. So like Dan will be like, you're good with your sugar. You just ate like all the chocolate covered bananas, like one box, because I can't just have two, so we have to have like 5 boxes and then I'll go through 2 boxes. But it's natural sugar and it doesn't screw me as much. But my body needs sugar. And I'll never forget, because this is always funny because I do this to my kids now. Where like Montgomery doesn't eat sugar at all. He like knows at like 19 the things that he can't, it's crazy to me. My daughter's a little bit more sugar, but has cut it too because they've done like competitions because they're like, it's not that hard. Yeah, which is so cool. I'm like, you guys, this is so cool that you're doing it and kind of seeing. And they're like, it's not that much of a difference. But then when they went back this time, they were like, ugh, like I can feel the difference. But like my mom used to say to me, you need protein. When you crave sugar, you need protein. Just eat some nuts. And I used to get so annoyed. I'd be like, I don't want a fucking nut. I don't want protein. I want sugar. When I was pregnant, the doctor, I remember, was like, well, just have a little bit of orange juice. Like you're eating too much sugar. You're going to get diabetes. I mean, we talked about, I gained 65 pounds. I was like 208. I think when I had my kids, I was a giant human. They called me Shrek in my office before I stopped. They were like, here comes Shrek. I was giant, but I ate like sleeves of Reese's peanut butter cups, not like the 2, like the ones that were 6. Like it was like my job. I mean, I ate so much sugar. Would eat a lot of fruit, but it's all because of the dopamine. And so it's
obviously
funny.
Elizabeth and I are on the same thing. We were the other day, this weekend, went to stop, got gas, and walked in there on, getting our treat. And there was a sleeve of 6. It's a king size, yeah. 6 cups. And she's like, well, is this buy one, get one? Guy's like, no, they're $1 each. We fire right back to the table, buy the whole stack. I drop we get 6 cups crushed before we even get outside the gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no, but there is something. So it was a very interesting video because it was like, and this is where the awareness comes in, right? As a kid, I didn't know what it was doing. It didn't trigger me in any way. I wouldn't say that I had like the massive sugar crashes, but it definitely messes with your ADHD. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but not the same that it does to someone else. Like it wasn't like, it was so obvious. Like I could eat so much sugar and go right to bed. It wasn't like it kept me up. It didn't bother me. Like I love the taste of sugar. Like I love it. And cutting it, I wouldn't say like when people are like, oh my God, do you feel so much better?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Kind of. Now with my anxiety, I'm not craving it. I think with hot yoga, because that's what everyone's asking. I'm like, I'm drinking so much water, not on purpose, but because I'm so fucking thirsty because I sweat so much in hot yoga. That has really helped me with my sugar cravings. And it's kind of crazy because I never really thought there was anything, but I would keep the natural stuff because if anything that is a junk, it did start like, I would get a little bit more sluggish as I've gotten older with the hormones and stuff. But when I was little, you
need to start putting some salt into your water.
Mm-hmm. I use those LMT packets. Have you ever seen those? No. 1,000 milligrams of salt, but they have they're sugary. So they're not added sugar. I think it's a little stevia or there's something sweet. There's like maybe 1 or 2 grams of cane sugar, which I'm like fine with. And so I love them. Love them. But the first time I had it, I didn't know that there was salt in it. And I had it in the little cup after the gym. It's 1,000 milligrams of salt. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is awful. But now I love them. But so I do that instead of, you can just use Himalayan salt. I have to, there's like a chocolate one. It's so good.
That's why, because, when you sweat a lot like that, that's why you eat popcorn before games, right? Salt retain that water.
Right.
That's why, IV bags in hospital are sodium, potassium, magnesium, because that's what you need to.
Because that's what you're sweating out, right?
Yeah.
So that's what those little packets do. But again, I could put other things in it. I know that this is not what we're talking about on this episode, and it's 10 minutes in. Clearly, I want some sugar, and I'm not having it. We're talking about guilt. I'm just going to go right to it. As parents, as humans, guilt. Like there's guilt, but I'm going to let you preference since I just went on a little rampage.
You're probably number one or number two thing as a statement I get, after we get one of the kids diagnosed, another family. Why didn't I catch it sooner? I'm a bad mom. I'm a bad dad. Why I should have saw the signs, or now this all makes sense to go back and I see this. And now if we'd have just done this and we just, hindsight's 2020 for a reason, right? You can't catch, and that's why we talk about this. You can't see something you don't understand. So I fucked my kids up. Could I all go back? Every one of us could go back and say, shit, I wish I did this different. But we did the best with what we can. But it's understanding the guilt. It's understanding what that means. Because if you go down that guilt train with your kids are way too smart for their own fucking good. They know that you're beating yourself up, or they know how to take and manipulate. The grandkids, she's little Peter, little fucker. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to get Mom and Elizabeth are looking back on, no. But he knows he's off the chart brilliant. Grandpa, you didn't use your turn signal. You're 4. Like what? They're so smart. So that if you sit there and beat yourself up after a diagnosis, the kid knows it. And not saying they're going to play off of it. Kids are always, they're
if the kid has anxiety, it's going to make it worse.
It's going to make it worse. And 2, if he can, and sounds worse than the way I'm saying, if he can find a weakness in a parent to make himself better or get more things, they're going to do it 100% of the time. I know I did. Am I wrong?
No, not at all. And we're talking about right now, like the diagnosis with the kids in school or later in life. A lot of times, and Brent's also referring to all the people that he's counseling and talking to on the side. And the thing that's interesting is we also then have guilt of like, why didn't the teacher do it? Then we have the anger, and there's all these different emotions, but it starts with that, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that because of some of the signs. Like we actually just did a post today about dyslexic kids early on that have a hard time rhyming, but obviously they're not diagnosed yet, but that is one of the signs. Doing the alphabet and skipping letters, that's an early sign. But here's what's crazy is my son, Montgomery, didn't have any of those. My nephew did. And I remember we were like, oh, well, maybe he's not as, we knew he was dysgraphic because of his name and the things that he was doing that really showed like the pinchers and all these different things. Like he ate like a fist, like he choked because he put too much. I was like, just use your 2 fingers, dude. Like my sister was be like, how is he eating? What's going on? Now we know that was the dysgraphia. We used to call him lead hands because he would come in for a kiss and it was like you get punched in the head. You're like,
in a reference point, that's that fine motor skills for that pinch. Can't do that pinch. It's that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are little signs that now we know. That's why we do this podcast. That's why we do so many things, because of things that you don't think about. So we just did a post about the rhyming. Now it doesn't also fit for everyone. So your kid might not be, or your grandkid, someone that might not be doing it. And you're like, oh my God, they're dyslexic because they're having a hard time rhyming. No, but this is where it's Start asking questions.
Right.
Look for other signs. Look for other things. You don't need to go run in and be like, oh my God, I got to do all these tests. I was just at a party last night and we were talking about services in college. So one of my friends, her daughter's also dyslexic, and they just dropped her off. And she was saying that she got tested by the school right before. And I was like, yeah, we didn't have to do it for Montgomery because of being in South Carolina. This girl went to school in New York. Yeah. And my friend was like, oh yeah, it was really easy and this and that. I go, and another mom was like, oh, but so why wouldn't you if the school did it? I go, because when you get tested, it just brings up how much you suck at so many different things. And the one mom that doesn't have kids, she's like, oh, I never thought about that. So like, if you're like, okay, I have little signs, don't go run out and be like, I need to do a whole full psych val on my child. Like, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying, be a little bit of aware, like when they're 2 and 3, if they're having a hard time doing those rhymings. But again, Montgomery didn't. My mom, kindergarten teacher, I mean, all she did was rhyme. All I did, I think, is rhyme with him. So like, it wasn't something that he just memorized it.
Rhyme,
it wasn't like
what?
I mean, like, so, the Jack and Jill went up the fucking hill, all those things. I don't know why I had to say fucking hill. Sorry, Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill up the hill.
Catch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill went tumbling after. Yeah, all of those like little nursery rhymes. My one nephew. Yeah, Jack and Jill. I don't know. Maybe it's not rhyming. But it's singing.
Rhyming, like...
Yeah, but there's a rhyme in there. Jack and Jill went up the hill, Jill. Yeah. I believe.
Clearly, that's why when I paid, what did I used to say? Patty cake, baker's man, bake me cake fast, and put it for a B, roll it, pat, I put it in the oven to me.
Right.
I could never do it. I made my own songs.
Because that is like a big sign, right? When you were little, if anyone was doing it and you were like making your own things up, that would have been a red flag. So those are nursery rhymes, but they are matching and all these different things, right? What'd you say?
My red flags.
Yes, you had a lot of red flags that no one really paid attention to. But so then that parent, right, is feeling the guilt. And some parents that are not talking about it are stuffing it, and it's causing all of these different traumas. We talked about, because in my family, my immediate family, my sisters and brothers, whatever that's called. So immediate, and I don't know what it's called. I think my immediate is my children. So the family that I grew up in, my siblings. I'm a little slow Betty today. I'll just put that out there.
You sure you weren't drinking last night?
I promise I wasn't. I didn't even have sugar last night. But
So what did you eat?
What do you mean, what did I eat? Well, actually, that's not true. I did have sugar. There's these churro chips that are it's a company called SEA. Yeah, but they're the healthy churro chips.
See, did you guys just go and sit in your hug trees last night?
We did not sit around and hug trees. I had sandwiches. I had things like that. No sugar. I didn't have any as a dessert, but I did have those. No, I am going to bed the last 2 weeks, like 11:30 midnight, and I'm only getting like 6 hours, and it's fucking my shit up. I have to go to bed earlier. That's part of my mood, which is also annoying. Like, what? I'm 90 now. I can't go to bed like late like now.
You can't. You're 90 now.
It's so annoying. It's all annoying, and then I get annoyed.
But it's not all your sleep pattern. You're not sleeping. Your anxiety and your guilt,
right,
of your kid.
Right. So why did I talk about the thing last night? Now you got me on. Now you really. Okay. So I was telling you about something, and it was about guilt. Oh, my siblings.
Oh,
yes.
Good. Yeah.
So yes, thank you. Ooh, sorry, guys. My siblings. So my older sister, myself, diagnosed later though with dyslexia and all that kind of stuff. My younger siblings weren't diagnosed, but my sister Megan and I were talking about, because her son's going to college. She was like, yeah, everyone acts like I was like the good student. She goes, I wasn't a good student. I struggled. I just didn't struggle as much as you two. So I wasn't diagnosed. And I know my mom has some guilt around that. It's like, I'm really sorry. Like how can I did my best, which there's no, like, there's not arguing about it.
It's best, right? 100%. Like, so the 100%, go ahead. Best is we all can do our best. And that's all we try and do. Nobody tries. I purposely did that. So
right, I'm purposely fucking you kids up. I mean, I know there's people out there that do that, but this is not the group that we're here right now. So Megan and I got into a really interesting conversation, and I said to her kind of what we were talking about, the podcast that just went out about my traumas and all of that stuff. I said, Meg, you might be having some of that and not realizing it because you also went into school being like, no, you're the good student. And she's like, I mean, I wasn't even that good of a student. She's like, I don't, she had to go get special services. She played field hockey Division I. And she's like, I'll never forget going in and being like, she played at Radford in Virginia.
Sure.
Yep. And so she was like, I remember having to go to like the class at, like where I needed help and I was like failing things. And it was like, okay. She goes, but she didn't have any diagnosis. So she couldn't get any services. Right. So her kids, all four have slight, like the oldest is dyslexic. I don't think that anyone else is dyslexic. Someone's dysgraphic, but we have talked about it where it was like, yeah, no one acknowledged that I was struggling. It was like, you just got to go move through because I was terrible in school and my older sister were terrible in school. So, and I was like, right, that's all mom could really handle. Right. I mean, it's like, oh, another one. Okay. You're getting by. And
then, it's funny you say that because, as I talked to mom the other day, she's like, I got 5 kids.
This is why we wanted to talk about the guilt.
Right. Mm-hmm. I've got 5 kids and everybody else is, was, quasi fine, whatever you determined fine, and just couldn't figure out and couldn't handle them. And then he got diagnosed. And this is where, obviously, grade 4 severe anxiety, now he's going into grade 8, how do you diagnose somebody with severe anxiety in grade 4 and nothing else? Just didn't all of a sudden poof, it show up. But no, there's a reason. Fucking assholes. But she's like, then she's got, talk about trying to medicate him, for the ADHD portion that wasn't diagnosed. But then her husband said no, and he's not home, and it all snowballed. She didn't say, but I guarantee it had a hard riff in the marriage. Well, because she's trying to do something, he's going against her with not, he's doing the best he can without having it in the understanding. And it's, obviously it's a lot for anybody. Mm-hmm. And doing the best we can with what we can. But, I think I did a post yesterday talking about getting the diagnosis. It's not a label. It's a roadmap.
Yeah, I love that.
But she's like, I should have known. I should have seen the sign. And this is where a lot of this conversation came from. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right.
I should have kept those 2 houses I invested 10 years ago. Or I should have did that. You're right.
Right.
Is the glass half full or glass half empty? At least, you didn't wait till me when I was 32. So he's going into grade 8. Better than going in college. Mm-hmm. Better than never. Better than me. Right? So it's that guilt of, flipping it the other way.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have dated that person. I shouldn't have done. You're right. The negatives, the hurts, the falls is where we learn who we are. And life is a fucking bitch. There's no just uphill roses. So, it's, but it all comes back to, as you and your sister are talking about, is to have these conversations.
And talk about it.
Yeah. The more knowledge you have around these things, the more you can have these conversations. Logical is not the right word, but educated conversations. It might not be. As I had a friend's kid got diagnosed last year. He's in 8th grade with just dysgraphia. Kid will sit down and fire off waiting 700 pages. I'm like, I never read 7 words, never 7. But so it comes out in different forms, in different ways. And you talk about Montgomery could rhyme. Obviously, clearly, I can't. So that's the tough part about all this and the complexity. Is that a word, or did I just make that up?
No, I feel like that's a good word. Yeah.
To this. But the more we talk about it, and truthful. And, the one portion I have, I think it's 100% of education in the world for dyslexic learning disorder are created by non-dyslexics, and 99% of the foundations that are created for dyslexia and thinking are ran by non-dyslexics. So they're telling us what? It's us that needs to continue these conversations openly for the nons to understand us. Right now, they're trying to tell us how to feel. And this is why we do what we do. This is why we come on here weekly, and we talk about it honestly. Some days are easier than others. Most of them all have been coming after me, but
no, that's just the last couple.
Yeah, just the last couple. Oh, you forced me into this podcast. You stalked me.
And because we wanted to talk about the 4Ds. That's the other thing, was we want to start really talking about that, the 4Ds, because we have talked about the whole neurodiversity world and the words that are associated with that. And there's not a lot of understanding when you say you're neurodivergent. There's so many different things. The 4Ds: dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and ADHD. If someone's like, that doesn't start with the D.
Nice. I like that.
D, right? And that is, as you said that, and I love so many things that you just said, because it is that roadmap. The reason why Montgomery could memorize is because we know that his auditory is so strong, right? He memorized all those books after listening to them, right?
You're 100%. No, I was just thinking, and I was going to, that might, another reason why he was so good at rhyming is because, again, I always say he knew at such a young age that he was different, right? So he kept asking to do that. So he had that vocab at an early age because he was making you guys, he was memorizing that. So did he really know how to rhyme? No,
he just memorized it. Totally. He just memorized it. And just like the alphabet, I mean, I think I've talked about this before. All the foreign languages that we had to take, I failed every single one. But French, I remembered the ABCs, and I used to sing.
Please go ahead. Please.
Oh, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Why do you have the face on?
What the fuck? Who's this person on the other side there?
So I used to sing
a foreign language. I can't do the first language. You want me to do a second?
No, that's all I know. It's right. The fact that I know the alphabet, people would say, well, then it's probably could be easy for you to learn. No, that's all I know. I just memorized it. Yeah. But I used to sing it to my kids when they were going to bed. I would sing the regular alphabet and the American alphabet and the French alphabet. So
can you do the Canadian? Go sing that Canadian alphabet for us right now.
It's ABC. It's the same as ours. Except you say, how do you say your A's? I know you say your about or whatever you say. A,
B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z.
See your little show off.
See, so I had the Z for you. It's actually Z.
It's Z. Well, that's what, and yeah, that's right. That's what it is in French, right? But here's again. So this is what's so interesting. So all my kids know the French alphabet and they know the English alphabet just because I sang it to them literally every night. Like they would be like, "Mama, sing," and I would be like, "I don't know the song. I just sing the alphabet." So I would sing the alphabet. Dan used to memorize songs and sing them songs, but
I sing too, and then Liz was like, "Oh my God, the dying raccoon's at it again. Here goes the dying raccoon." I'm like, "Whatever."
Yeah, I don't have a very good voice, but it is this really cool thing to think about the mind, and that yes, at a very young age, the things that I was doing. We talk about the parental match. I didn't know I was doing these things for him, but it was giving him these memorizing tools at a very early age. Now, it also gave him tools to be able to kind of not show us that he was dyslexic. So he didn't get diagnosed until a little bit later, like where, it wasn't until third, fourth grade, which is not later, but in the scheme of things, he was diagnosed with dysgraphia earlier. Then we were like, no, I think he's fine. He's not dyslexic. He can read. Well, we didn't realize that he was completely memorizing everything. And
dyslexics don't read. We memorize. But you just said something that I touched upon. The mind is the most powerful part of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when you come in for the golf event, we'll shoot that video. I think I sent you that video
Oh yeah.
with that turning.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all with mine. And, obviously as listeners, we'll do a video. Obviously the golf event's September 16th. So, Juliet's coming down, for it. Maybe we'll shoot a video of me doing that, of somebody doing that. And then we'll post it to prove how powerful the mind is and everything that you were just saying.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a really interesting thing. And that brings us back again to the guilt. Because again, the guilt's all coming from your own mind. It's coming from like, what did I do? Was I too busy? I wasn't paying attention to my kids. It doesn't matter when your child gets diagnosed or if you missed it for a really long time and now they're adults and they're like, wait, what the fuck? I'm dyslexic because their kid is dyslexic. It is not your fault. It is not your fault. Many people missed it, not just yourself, right? So a lot of people missed it. And whatever you're doing, just be appreciative that you're where you are and that you were doing the best that you could then. I mean, that's when I remember when Montgomery got diagnosed, and then other people or people that I've worked with over the years, that is the number one thing that they would say, oh my God, was it too late? Are they fucked? And I'm like, no.
They could be fucked from the wrong piece of gum.
Right.
But my favorite gum was sandbox gum growing up. Ew. When I find gum in the sandbox, when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, I guess some good crunches when I ate it. It's so good.
Oh my God, that's a sensory thing. Montgomery used to eat sand. People on the beach, they would be like, why? He's eating sand. And I'm like, don't say anything because then he'll eat more. Just let it be.
Again, and you always kind of give me one when you say I'm not retarded. What do you classify that?
I liked Big League Chew because that was or Bubble Hubba Bubba. Because that was, and I would eat the whole pack. So
we were talking earlier. Canadian candy is so different than I miss the black licorice, best candy in the world, black licorice. But you used to have big sour soothers, and you lick it. Oh, just.
So you like I don't like the sour stuff. My nephew liked the sour. We're back on candy. Yes, this is a very attention deficit episode. So Adi, who's our editor, I'm Canada, so sorry.
Bring home some wine gums, some Canadian candy. I'll send you an address. In return, I'll send you some swag. Foundation swag, maybe some ketchup chips. There we go. Now we're on track.
I think you're hungry.
I just crushed. So I walked out. I went to Walmart and they had 12 or 24 little glazed cinnamon rolls.
So that's not a donut. You said it was a donut.
Well, I crushed 24 of them before I got home. It's only a mile and a half down the road.
Yeah, as I was talking to you about what we're going to talk about in the episode. Well, I think we can actually leave it there. Like we don't need to continue on our attention deficit spree. But the message out of this is that sugar creates dopamine. No,
so
the message out of this is do not beat yourself up whenever you have gotten your child help, or if you've missed it. We'll continue on this. I'm not going to get too deep into it.
Or what?
No, about misdiagnosis, because there could be one, and not misdiagnosis. I might have missed something in someone, and we'll just leave it at that. But you can't beat yourself up. It's like you have what you're doing.
That's it.
Exactly.
Pat yourself on the back. And I always tell Elizabeth, I got to get a dummy made that with a hand that can do this. I can't reach there. But every parent, it is not easy parenting. It's fucking hard, and they don't give you a manual when the kids are born. Okay, here it is. Okay, now you're on chapter 2. No. So give yourself some slack. Give yourself some credit. Parenting is not easy. And then you mix in us two. As you can tell, the squirrels ran by our window a few different times today. So we're a lot. We can be a lot. But when you understand us a little bit more, it makes a little less lot.
It's very true. Very true. We are a lot. I think in the best way possible, but maybe not everyone else thinks that.
When your husband's like, I think you need to take a walk.
That means, oh, I'm a little much right now. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I've married a very laid back, very even keeled, very practical human, which has worked very well for me because I can be even.
But now we can go down a whole different rabbit hole. It's understanding. It's able to verbalize again. And I'll use this as I get this asked all the time. Hey, did any coaches help you? With your dyslexia, with the ADHD? When I talk about not napping, I'm like, no. And to their credit, or not to them, is I wouldn't have known what it was to help that I need that help.
Right.
So it's taken this long. Obviously, you've changed my life. Elizabeth, have changed my life. Saved my life. But it's be able to have these conversations because there's understanding now. I could come, you and Dan can have these conversations because you got understanding of yourself. You don't have understanding of yourself. Doesn't matter who you're married. It's going to be a train wreck because it's not fair. If you don't know yourself, how's your significant other supposed to know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it's a very interesting thing. So no guilt. That is the message of the day. Oh, that's like Sesame Street. We've talked about that a couple of times. Wasn't there like a letter of the day? The message of the day. Oh, maybe we should do that for the rest of the word blindness. We'll have a message of the day.
What was the guy that came down? Ooh, he had the oogly eyes. What was his name?
Okay, so 2 episodes ago, we tried to do that and we never looked it up. I don't remember. You're going to look it up right now. Right. Okay. So as you look it up, I'm going to take us out of this very interesting episode today. Sugar, guilt, and craziness. And it's 111. Say a wish. Okay. As Brent finds the googly eye guy from Sesame Street, I'm going to say thank you for joining another episode of Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed. This is definitely a very interesting episode, but there's a lot of messages in there through the kind of joking and silliness that we had. We will see you guys for another episode, but like, rate, review, and share, because you never know who needs to, you don't know who needs some laughing, some, gut check of, oh wait, maybe I am a little normal, because this episode, neither of us are not us. I'm saying someone listening to this might be like, oh wow, okay, I'm not as cuckoo, because those two are cuckoo.
Out of this world.
Yeah. So hopefully we gave you a little confidence that you're not as crazy as you think and don't have guilt. And we're going to leave it there.
Ding.